Namaskaram, everyone. Welcome to Vichara Dashagam. We will start off with a short prayer. Shuklam Bharadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chadurbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyaye Sarvavighnopashante. Welcome to Guru Ayappan Temple's Vichara Dashagam. Today we have a very interesting topic. We have with us Gayatri Sivaramakrishnan. Gayatri was always inclined towards mathematics and was very fond of teaching. She started her career as a mathematics teacher. She was also very curious about psychotherapy and various ways of using it in therapy when her 3-year-old son had some phobias 13 years ago. She ended up specializing and practicing various aspects of emotional freedom techniques since then. Gayatri has been trained under Dr. Brian Weiss as a past life therapist. She's a tarot reader as well. Her advanced training in NLP under Dr. Richard McHugh has helped enhance her practice by combining various such modalities. Louise Hay, Dr. Wayne Dyer, and Dr. John Holland are some of the self-help masters Gayatri has met and learned from. She has been practicing various modalities of therapy for the past 13 years. She's learning as she's practicing. She will be talking about how past life regression and the lessons we need to learn in this life are connected to Sanatana Dharma. She's married with 2 children and is currently practicing in Bangalore. Welcome, Gayatri. Thank you, everyone. Please do keep your mics off and your video off during the session.
Thank you, Anu. Thank you so much. Sadashivasamarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara. I bow down to all the teachers, masters, starting with Lord Shiva in the Guru Parampara as we start this evening. I feel extremely grateful to Vinita and Shaji Krishnanji for having given me this opportunity to be one of the speakers of this Vichara Dashakam. I'm grateful that many of my mentors, teachers are here today. And I'm grateful that my parents are here this evening. Thank you so much for logging in. Many thanks to each and every one of you for having taken this time to watch this presentation about past life regression. So after the presentation, we will be taking some questions. So I will be sharing the screen, and it's a PowerPoint presentation. You can send your questions to Anu. She will collate them and she will give them to me at the end of this presentation. Thank you all once again for being there this evening. The topic for this evening is the soul's journey through past life regression. We will be attempting to connect it with Sanatana Dharma as much as possible. The Bhagavad Gita, the Bhajagovindam, and whatever texts we are familiar with. So the soul's journey is not connected to religion or nationality in any sense. It has nothing to do with religion or nationality. Today, it is an attempt to connect with the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhajagovindam and the other texts. That is the whole idea. The topic is the soul's journey through past life regression and how we could connect it with Sanatana Dharma. So Sanatana Dharma is something that is true beyond time and space. And it is the ever-existent eternal truth. So Sanatana Dharma and science were considered to be in two different directions, not coming together at all. Now, science is approaching the truth, which is also Sanatana Dharma. We will be looking at it in detail in the slides to follow. So karma is a very common word. We say everything is due to karma. And whatever I'm doing, I'm not doing, it's very convenient to blame it on karma. We say karma is the reason for all the happiness and sorrow. And the birth and death cycle is also related to karma. A few weeks ago, there was a fantastic presentation by Shaji Krishnanji, where he spoke in detail about Sanchita karma, Prarabdha karma, and Agamya karma. So it says that we have come with a bowl of rice and we need to exhaust it in the right manner. The attitude that we carry when we are exhausting that bowl of rice is something that is in our hands. Whatever prarabdha needs to happen will happen, but the attitude with which we look at it is in our hands. Now, in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is called the Sankhya Yoga, which means the eternal knowledge, the Lord is giving the eternal knowledge to Arjuna, and he says, Vasamsi jhirnani yatha vihaya navani grihnati naroparani tatha sharirani vihaya jhirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. This shloka means the way we give up old clothes, that's how the soul gives up the body and takes a new one. The soul continues to take new bodies and the journey goes on. So here is another one in the same chapter. This is the 27th shloka in the second chapter. The Lord is saying, Jathasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu dhruvam janmamritasya cha tasmadha pariharyete natvam shochitum arhasi. Again, for one who has taken his birth, death is certain. And for one who is dead, birth is certain. So we need to discharge our duties and there should be no lamentation. You should not lament, you should not complain and crib. The entire chapter deals with a lot of such shlokas. So based on these two shlokas, we will be moving on to the Bhajagovindam, composed by Adi Shankara himself, where he says, Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani, jetare shayanam. So again and again birth, again and again death, again and again getting into the mother's womb. That is the cycle that goes on and on and on. There are various other texts composed by Adi Shankara where he talks about the soul, and the soul takes the body, new bodies again and again. So that's the bit from Sanatana Dharma. Now we will move on to Dr. Brian Weiss and we will see where his work is connecting with Sanatana Dharma. So Dr. Brian Weiss went to Columbia University and then he went to Yale Medical School. He is a Jew by birth, and he never had any clue about past life, present life, future life, etc. It was not part of his upbringing. He is currently the chairman of psychiatry at Mount Sinai Medical College, and he's a best-selling author. Now, one of his patients slipped into a past life, which changed doctor's life and the patient's life forever. Since doctor had no clue about what past life is, he didn't know what was happening, and we will look at it in detail in a few minutes from now. Now, this is one of my favorite quotes, which doctor says again and again. I know that there is a reason for everything. Perhaps at the moment that an event occurs, we have neither the insight nor the foresight to comprehend the reason, but with time and patience, it will come to light. It's not easy, it's quite profound. And we need to have the patience to understand and accept that the reason will come to light. Now we will move on to one of his patients' stories. Her name is Catherine. And Catherine had fear of darkness, fear of water, fear of death and dying. She was scared of airplanes. She had nightmares. She was sleepwalking. And she was scared to water to such an extent that she couldn't swallow a pill. So when she had to take a pill, she had the fear that she would choke and die. Catherine was working in a lab as a pathologist, and she also had a few doctors who knew her very well, who were trying to help her out, who were trying to understand what was happening with her. There was this one doctor by name Dr. Edward. There is a special mention here because we will come back to Dr. Edward in a few minutes from now. He insisted that Catherine should go and see Dr. Brian Weiss. So he went out of his way and he called up Dr. Brian Weiss and said, I'm sending this girl. She'll come to you. You need to do something with her. She's really suffering a lot. And 2 months passed by. She didn't go. She was not ready to go and see Dr. Brian Weiss. She was assuming that it is something that she needs to be ashamed of. She should not talk about it. She should not be discussing her fears and phobias because she's gone through a lot of treatment under so many other doctors. But out of respect for Dr. Edward, she finally goes and meets Dr. Brian Weiss. And these are the fears that she tells him. And her body language was very evident that she was very scared. She didn't want to look at doctor eye to eye. She was not ready to talk about her fears. And she just went and sat in his clinic, not knowing what to do. She didn't have a complete idea of what to say, what not to say, because she was going through a lot from within. So doctor, though he was the chairman of psychiatry at that point in time, tried a lot of methods and gave her a lot of ideas and suggestions to come out of some of the fears and phobias. But for about 18 months, nothing worked. Nothing worked. But somehow Catherine was persistent. She kept going to doctor, and doctor was trying something or the other. And finally, doctor says, why don't we try hypnosis? That is when Catherine gets really scared. She says, I don't want to do all that. I'm really scared of it. So doctor says, it's nothing. I'll regress you to your childhood in this lifetime. There's nothing to worry about it. So we must remember that there is no clue about past life. Doctor didn't have a clue, neither did Catherine. He says that this is just something that you will go to in your mind to your childhood and see where all these fears and phobias started. And we'll see if we can do something about it, and there's nothing to fear. Dr. Brian Weiss is a very compassionate person by nature, and he convinced her to get into that hypnotic state and going back to childhood in this lifetime. Going back to childhood also didn't have much of an effect. Catherine was blocking whatever was going on initially. And finally, doctor says, go to the point where all this started. When did this all begin? When did your fears come into your mind? Go to that point and we'll see what can be done. Catherine is lying down in doctor's clinic, and suddenly she says, oh, my name is Arunda, and I'm 18 years old. Doctor had no clue why she was saying this when her name was Catherine. And she says, oh, I have a daughter. And my daughter's name is Cleatra. She starts explaining things as though she's Arunda. And she starts talking about her daughter, whom she loves very much. At that point in time, doctor says that his stomach got knotted because he had no clue as to what was going on. After some time, Catherine says, now I'm 25 years old and there is water everywhere and the water is rising. Oh my God, I'm totally not in control of what's happening. The water is taking away everything from my house and it's flooding. And finally, she starts sobbing, saying that her daughter has been taken away in the floods. And as that was happening, she says, oh, I know who Cleatra is. She's Rachel. Now, Rachel is Catherine's niece in this lifetime. So though Catherine had no clue as to what was happening, she could understand that Cleatra is Rachel in this lifetime. But Catherine had no idea that she was talking about all this. And as she was dying in that lifetime, she started gasping for breath. And after some time, there was absolute silence. That was the time Catherine had experienced death because of water. After some time, doctor was wondering what was the suggestion that he could give her. Catherine says, oh, my name is Louisa. I am 54 years old and I'm learning to dance. And she tells Dr. Brian Weiss, you are my teacher. I know your name. Your name is Diogenes. And she goes on and on and on about another person by name Louisa. Now here, doctor was not able to deny the whole experience of Catherine's because she was so clear about what she was wearing, about the topography of the place, the details of her hair, the year, her age, who were around her and what was happening. Unless you experience something, it would be so difficult to give the details with so much clarity. So doctor couldn't deny that. At the same time, he didn't know how to accept that and go about with it. And after that lifetime, Catherine slowly comes out of that hypnotic state and she leaves. So doctor is very sure that Catherine is not going to come back for the next session, and he doesn't call her because he is not sure as to what happened. Now Catherine comes for the next session looking brighter, and somewhere her fear of swallowing pills had gone away. But there's no idea how this happened. So the next session, Catherine went under hypnosis much more easily. And she says, oh, my name is Johan. I'm 21 years old. I'm a young boy. And she says, my mother is cooking something, but I see that someone is chasing us. Someone is looking for us. They are going to capture us in some time. So as she says that, she realizes that there was a slit in her throat. and she was killed in that lifetime by having a cut in her throat. So now Catherine was having a huge block to wear high collared clothes or wear any kind of jewelry around her neck. She had a lot of issues around her neck, and she would never want to even touch her neck while wearing her clothes or wanting to wear something around her neck. So this was the trauma that she had carried from another lifetime, and that lifetime ends. And in no time, Catherine says, oh, everybody is happy to receive me. They're all smiling, and they're all talking about my birth. I have been named Elizabeth. So now that was the next lifetime where she's a newborn baby, and she is named Elizabeth by her parents. In no time, she again slips into another lifetime where she says, I'm this little girl, Abby. And she says, I've been punished. My father has punished me, and this is a dark room punishment. I'm so scared, and I don't know when I will see light. And this is the punishment given to me by my father. So here, in that lifetime, the fear that she was holding on to because of the dark room had continued into this lifetime where she says that she's extremely scared of darkness. So these are some of the lifetimes Catherine was going through. And session after session, both Dr. and Catherine had no clue what was happening. But Catherine was feeling better and better, and she started coming for the sessions very regularly. Now, the reason I said that we need to remember Dr. Edward is that when Catherine was Elizabeth as a newborn baby, and when Catherine was Arunda, during both those lifetimes, Dr. Edward was her father. She could recognize him later when she understood what was happening. And that is the reason he was so concerned that Catherine should start feeling better in this lifetime. And he had that extreme concern towards Catherine in this lifetime. So one of the sessions, Catherine says, this is your father's religious name, and you have named your daughter after him. So when Dr. Brian Weiss had to hear this statement from Catherine, he says that he felt as though the air from his lungs were pumped out completely, and he was sweating profusely, and he calls out to his wife, Carol Weiss. His clinic was attached to his home, and he didn't know what was happening at that moment. And Catherine also says that I know that you had an infant son who died of an inverted heart. Now, that was a very, very rare disease. And there was no way that Catherine had an idea about all these things because this was happening in the clinic in the year 1980. And doctor had lost his son in the year 1971. So this was almost 10 years later. And there was no way that Catherine knew about Dr. Brian Weiss before meeting him. So this was something that shocked Dr. Brian Weiss to a great extent, and he was wondering how she knew all these details. And the religious name is kept a secret, and it is not revealed to anyone apart from the immediate family. Now, Catherine talking about Dr. Brian Weiss's father's religious name was something that was really unimaginable for Dr. Brian Weiss. And he asks her, who is telling you all this? How are you saying all these details? Where are you getting this information from? Now, Catherine, under that hypnotic state, she says, these are all messages that I'm receiving from the masters. And all this is happening for you. You need to learn your lessons too. This is what she's telling Dr. Brian Weiss. Now, that session happened to be the turning point, the amazing discovery that happened, the understanding that there is more than one lifetime, the proof and the facts, everything comes together at that point in time for Dr. Brian Weiss. Now, all this is happening after Catherine went through 18 months of conventional therapy. Now, after this session, Catherine leaves the clinic as though nothing had happened. She was so calm, and she was so relaxed, and she starts feeling better and better after every session. Now, this is where we see the connection of the shloka that we saw a few minutes ago, where there is birth and death and birth and death, and it is a cycle. So that is where it connects with the shloka from the Bhagavad Gita. Now, Dr. Brian Weiss started using past life regression as therapy, and he started regressing his patients to another lifetime consciously. He framed the literature accordingly, and he started believing that there is more than one lifetime. He took a long time to come out and tell the medical fraternity that there is something like this. It was almost 4 years that he researched, and he said, yes, we can use this in therapy. So if you look at the screen, there is this long line which says soul's journey. And there is a very small line which says one lifetime, a lifetime. So if you can connect with the soul's journey and one lifetime, you know how small one lifetime is. Doctor likes to use his fingers like that. He says one lifetime is only this much and nothing more than that when you look at the soul's journey. So if the soul's journey is going on and one lifetime happens because of our karma, what do we do? Is there nothing in our hands? We need to do nothing. We need to just relax and sit back, saying that things will happen based on our prarabdha and we don't have to worry about anything. Is that how we look at things? No. We have control over the soul's journey. So for the soul's journey to stay on the same path, to go on a better path, or to go down a not so healthy path is in our hands. Our attitude and the way we learn our lessons, all that is in our control, and we have control over the soul's journey. Now, whatever we do, whatever makes us feel better, whenever we are learning, whenever we are growing, we are evolving, we are trying to do things out of our comfort zones, that's when we are taking the soul's journey to a better place. The soul's journey moves to a better place and we accumulate better karma. That's how this works. So doctor started recording the lessons learned by his patients after regressing to other lifetimes. So when his patients would regress, they would come up with lessons saying that, oh, in that lifetime, I never learned what forgiveness is. In this lifetime, I didn't learn what unconditional love is. In this lifetime, I didn't learn what fearlessness is. And in that lifetime, I didn't understand what compassion meant, what patience meant. So doctors started recording all these lessons to have in his record a compilation of the lessons that one needs to learn. One of his books talks only about those lessons, which we will see in a few minutes from now. So one of the main lessons, he concluded saying love, forgiveness, and patience are the three most important lessons. And one of the main lessons happens to be love. Love meaning unconditional love towards oneself, being fearless, standing up for yourself, speaking up for yourself from a fearless space, and loving yourself enough. Forgiveness, it's again a tough lesson that one needs to learn, but many of his clients said that they couldn't forgive someone. There was that grudge, that pain from within, and finding it hard to forgive. Forgiveness is another lesson that many of doctor's patients said that I wish I had learned it earlier. I was more forgiving, which I wish I didn't hold the grudge till the last day of that lifetime, so on and so forth. Now, the another one is patience. Patience and having the right attitude when your patient is most important. Just by being patient, if there is a lot of resentment from within, that is not going to be of any use. When you're patient, you have the right attitude, you stay calm, you take things as they come, you let go whenever it is time to let go. These are all very difficult lessons. And these were shared by doctors' patients. And eventually, people started seeing the difference in Dr. Brian Weiss himself. They started saying, you look much more calmer, you look much more peaceful, you look much more satisfied with what you're doing. So the most important lesson that Dr. felt had come into his life was through his son. And the son mentioned that you are not like before. You are far more calmer and you are able to handle a lot more than before. And I'm really proud of you. So that kind of a conversation with his son had not happened in the past. And as doctors started regressing patients to their past lives, he also started learning a lot of lessons, and people saw a lot of improvement in his attitude and his behavior and his understanding of his clients, so on, so forth. Now, we will go back to the Bhagavad Gita now. Now, these lessons that doctors' clients were talking about, which they had learned in between lifetimes, some 26 lessons are being mentioned in the 16th chapter, the first, second, and third shloka in the Bhagavad Gita. This is Devasura Sampat Vibhaga Yoham, where the demonic qualities and the devas, the deva qualities, the good qualities are being mentioned by Lord Krishna to Arjuna. So the Lord starts saying, Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Abhayam Sattva Samshuddhihi Jnana Yoga Vyavastitihi Danam Dhamascha Yajnancha Swadhyayastapa Arjavam Ahimsa Satyam Akrodaha Tyagashantirapayshunam Daya Bhuteshvalo Luktvam Mardhavam Hrira Chapalam Teja Shamadriti Shaucham Adroho Nati Manita Bhavanti Sampadham Daivim Abhijatasya Bharata. So the Lord says, these are the qualities I'm looking at in my devotees, in my true bhakta. So most of these qualities and what Dr. Brian Weiss saw that his clients were saying go hand in hand. So this is where we see the connection between Sanatana Dharma and Dr. Brian Weiss's work. And some of the qualities that the Lord says here is, you need to be free from anger, freedom from anger, aversion to fault finding. Fault finding should be such a quality that you have an aversion towards it and you are not able to handle it. So if you look up these three shlokas, you will be able to see that the Lord has listed 26 qualities. And if you read the book on Messages from the Masters, those qualities are all going hand in hand. Now, as the research goes on, doctors started looking at the hormonal level of his patients. So oxytocin and serotonin, the positive hormones, the healthy hormones, the hormones which are responsible for love and for the woman when she undergoes labor pains to deliver a child, all these hormones were at a higher level and cortisol levels started going down drastically. So the patients were far more relaxed, their health issues started dissipating slowly, and they went to a much better place as their sessions were moving on. Now, what happened to Catherine? Catherine is much more happier, she's healed, and she's healthier. And the regular coffee shop she used to go to, people started asking her and how she was doing and where was she from, and people started recognizing her and acknowledging her, where she has come from and what she's been doing. Now, this is a coffee shop Catherine used to go to very regularly, but no one would recognize her, or rather, Catherine didn't want to be recognized. her body language was such that she would go to one corner, just have the coffee and go away. Later on, people started recognizing her, and she's far more happier, healed, and healthier today. Now, this entire story of Catherine regressing and doctor discovering this whole therapy called past life regression is recorded in this book, Many Lives, Many Masters. It is downloadable for free on the internet, and you can read it and understand what actually happened with Catherine. Some of the technical aspects are not explained in this book. It's like a story. It's very interesting to go through this book. Now, the other books that Doctor has written are Messages from the Masters, which we were talking about some time ago. See, he has put together the lessons that his patients learned in between lifetimes, from one lifetime to another. When they were moving from one lifetime to another, he calls this book Tapping into the Power of Love. That book is Messages from the Masters, and Through Time into Healing talks about the technical aspects of regression. All kinds of trauma, how to transform your mind, how to get out of your comfort zone, and the most trickiest aspect being relationships. All that is dealt with in this book, Through Time into Healing. Now, another very interesting book is Only Love is Real. So Elizabeth and Pedro, they go through their regression sessions under Dr. Brian Weiss in his clinic, and they regress to the same story. All the details given by Elizabeth and Pedro seem to match so much that doctor was taken aback by the details given by both of them under hypnosis. Due to confidentiality, doctor didn't want to reveal what was happening, and incidentally, both of them meet at doctor's clinic and sense that there is a strong familiarity there. After that, it so happens that Elizabeth and Pedro are married and they are living happily now. The next book is Same Soul, Many Bodies. Doctor talks about future lives, future progression. He's doing a lot of research on future progression now because people are more interested about the past and learning their lessons. And now future progression will help people to go through a better lifetime with more lessons learned. Currently, doctor is working on depression, anxiety states, sleep disorders, Alzheimer's, and brain chemistry. A lot of research work is happening through past life regression, and his patients have been healed all over the world, and it seems nothing short of a miracle once they go through past life regression. Now, the areas of healing. Past life regression helps in the areas of health, career, finances, and relationships. In terms of health, if a particular part of the body had to go through a damage because of an accident or because of a war, the trauma is carried to the next lifetime. And once the regression happens, the perception shifts and then the healing begins. With regard to career, people have seen that they belong to another career when they regress and they have moved back to that career, though their education was in a different line, and they have started doing way better in that line. Relationships, again, challenging, whatever challenges in the relationships where they've been healed. It's not easy to see your spouse as your next door neighbor or your parents as your teachers and your aunt as your mother, your father. It is not gender specific, but to come to terms with it and change your perception, it gets difficult. At the same time, it is healing and it is comforting to understand that this lifetime is not the be all and end all of everything. Now, coming to finances, there are people who struggle with the whole idea of money. Money has energy, and sometimes people don't understand why money doesn't stay with them. There have been patients who went to Dr. Brian Weiss for the same reason, understanding that there is a pattern in the problem and they have got it resolved because of their unhealthy relationship with money in another lifetime. So those are the areas of healing that happens with past life regression. Now, if you can focus on the screen, you see 3 little pigs and a little fountain. This is in the backyard of a house. This picture is going to explain a very nice exercise for us. Doctor does a wonderful exercise called psychometry during his sessions. So basically what you do is you pick up a partner from the group and then take one of their objects. It could be a watch or a ring or something that they're having, that they've been using for quite some time. And you take that object, keep it with you and sense what is happening. You might hear voices, you might see something, you might feel something. It cannot be specified. So what happened was this young girl who had gone to Dr. Brian Weiss's session, she picks up this elderly man and she says, can you be my partner for this exercise? And she ends up giving her finger ring to him and she takes that gentleman's watch. And both of them, when they went through this exercise, doctor is continuously saying, don't think that it is something weird. Don't think it's something that you are not able to connect. Whatever you see, whatever you hear, whatever you feel, you please express it freely. So this elderly man, he sees this picture that you're seeing on the screen right now. There are 3 little pigs and a little fountain in the backyard of the house. So once the exercise gets over, this elderly man says, I don't know how to say this. This seems to be really weird. I see 3 little pigs and a fountain in the backyard of the house. So that girl breaks down when she hears this, because 3 little pigs was the magic word between that girl and her father. When they were happy, they would say 3 little pigs. When they were upset, it was 3 little pigs. And when she had achieved something in school, she would come back shouting 3 little pigs. And her father had passed away recently, and she had put up this 3 little pigs in a little house in the backyard of her house in memory of her father. And she wanted to know if her father was around and if her father was blessing her and if her father was understanding what was happening with her, even though he was physically not present with her. So that gave her the answer. This was just an exercise which happened for 2 minutes with an absolute stranger, and that's how powerful psychometry is. So again, if you look at Sanatana Dharma, they say that if you take something from someone, if you take an object from someone, you get the qualities of that person. You start imbibing those qualities. You start taking in those qualities inside of you. So that is so true with psychometry, with this exercise. And it also happens that when you take prasad, if you go to a temple, you take prasad. When you take prasad, what do? You say you are blessed to have got the prasad. There is no correction, there is no rejection, or there is no comparison when you accept the prasad. All you are looking for is to have that positive energy when you take the prasad. That is what you are concerned about. And again, in Sanatana Dharma, we know that exchanging garlands is a very important aspect of marriages. So what happens when you exchange the garlands is you're exchanging energies. And when you start your life as man and wife, it is important that your energies come together and you start off from a healthy, happy space. So such aspects are seen scientifically now, and they are getting scientifically proven. Now let's look at something about dreams. Dreams are strongly connected to our past lives. There are dreams that we are not able to understand, we are not able to comprehend, and we just let it go. Doctor says it's good to have a notepad by your bedside, and when the moment you wake up, you just write down what happened in your dream. So one very interesting story is that there was this lady who was told to journal her dreams, and she ends up dreaming thousands of ants on a terry towel. Now the terry towel has threads popping up, as we all know, and she sees ants in every thread. She felt that her dream was the weirdest ever. And as she was journaling it, she said thousands of ants on a terry towel. That's what she was writing down. And suddenly she felt, oh, Aunt Terry. I haven't heard from Aunt Terry in a long time. This Aunt Terry happens to be her mother's sister. And she calls up her aunt to find out how she's doing, and there was no response. Aunt Terry was living alone, and people were wondering what happened to her because she was not responding. So finally, the neighbors broke her house and found that Aunt Terry had undergone a stroke in the bathroom almost the same time her niece had a dream about ants on a terry towel. So it can get that weird, and at the same time, it can carry very strong messages for us. Now, when we look at the Bhagavatam, in the 4th skanda, which is chanted on the 2nd day of the Saptaham, the 29th chapter of the 4th skanda, starting from the 50th shloka, it talks about dreams and past life and how the mind carries on, and even when the body is dropped off. So that is where we get a lot of information from the Bhagavatam about dreams and dream recall. Now let's look at the last concept for the evening. This is called the hypnagogic state. Now we are all familiar with Thomas Alva Edison and what he discovered. We are all enjoying his discovery of the light bulb today. So Thomas Alva Edison knew the speciality or the understanding of that early morning time, which we call Brahma Muhurta in Sanatana Dharma. So Thomas Alva Edison had an easy chair. He would lean on the chair and he would have some heavy metal balls in his hand, and he would keep a huge metal bowl near his chair, and he would lean on that chair and he would start thinking about stuff which needed an answer. So if he fell off to sleep, his hand would open and the metal balls would fall into that huge metal bowl, making a huge sound, waking him up. So he wanted to become more and more aware of his self and discover the most amazing discovery of the light bulb, which he did ages ago. So that is how he brought in that discovery. So that hypnagogic state is something that all of us experience. We just sleep it off at that time between 3:30 and 4:30. I mean, around that time. There's no specific time that is there, but it is that early morning time, which we call the Brahma Muhurta. Now, let's look at what Adi Shankara says in the Dakshinamurti Shlokam. It says, Yat sakshat kurute prabodha samaye svatmanameva dvayam tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye namayidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye namaha. This is a very small part of a bigger verse. It says you can become more aware of yourself during the Brahma Muhurta. That early morning time when you become more aware of yourself, and you can go inwards during that time and do amazing things for yourself. So again, that's where it connects with the hypnagogic state, which Doctor talks about. So with that, we come to the end of this presentation. Once again, I would like to thank each and every one of you present here for this evening. And now, Anu, you will be putting together the questions and you will be asking them, right? If there are any questions.
Yes, we do have some questions. And,
thank you. Thank you so much for all of you.
Actually, thank you very much, Gayatri ji. What an amazing presentation.
Thank you.
This is truly enlightening, you know, finding aspects of Sanatana Dharma and, you know, proven science and psychiatry and other aspects. Thank you so much for bringing this to our understanding, first of all. I will actually go on to the first question that we received from Likit. He says that Likit tried this 2 years ago in Canada, and the person was not able to hypnotize him. Is there a way to hypnotize people like him?
Anu, the volume is a bit low.
Okay, sorry, can you hear me?
I'm not able to hear you clearly. Are you able to hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, Anu, the question was not clear. Anu, if you can please repeat it for me, if you don't mind.
Sure. So the question was, Likit tried to, can you hear me now?
Yeah, okay. I can.
Likit tried hypnosis 2 years ago in Canada, and the person was not able to hypnotize him. And is there any way to hypnotize people like him is his question.
So according to Dr. Brian Weiss, he says in the first 4 sessions, it is advisable not to hypnotize anyone for that matter. Doctor himself has given 3 questionnaires which you need to fill up, understand the literature, understand what hypnotic regression is, understand what hypnosis is, and develop the comfort with the doctor, with the therapist. There needs to be an understanding between the therapist and the patient or the client, however you want to call them. So you can't, according to Dr. Brian Weiss, you can't regress in the first session itself. It takes a lot of time. You need to be extremely comfortable with the therapist. You need to come to terms with so many things happening in this lifetime, resolve some of the issues that are happening in this lifetime, understand if there is a pattern in your problem, and if it is necessary to go in for past life regression, and then get into past life regression. Only in the 4th session, doctor advises that you get into childhood regression in this lifetime, and from the 5th session, you can get into past life regression. That is what he advises, because the comfort level with the therapist is very, very important. Hypnosis in itself is not harmful, but sometimes, I mean, all due respect to all the therapists, the hypnotist can sometimes be harmful, which is a fear that stays in the client's mind. It's very difficult to get into regression if that is the case. There are very, very small percentage of people who will find it very, very difficult to regress because there are a lot of blocks in the mind, a lot of trauma, a lot of difficult stages that they have gone through in this lifetime. Then it takes a very long time to regress. I wouldn't say you can never regress. It is possible, but it'll take some time and you need to be really patient to go through that.
Thank you so much. So Likit also wanted to know if you are practicing and if there is a contact information available for yourself.
So I am not practicing past life regression online. I'm practicing other therapies and other modalities, past life regression. Sometimes when there is a catharsis or when there is something that is difficult to handle, I somehow feel it's not safe to go through past life regression online because you are not in control of what's happening and largely dependent on the internet and stuff like that, right? So I used to practice pre-COVID. I used to practice past life regression, but now online, I'm not practicing past life regression. I'm practicing other modalities, Anu.
Thank you. Parvati on Facebook asked, is it hypnosis alone that is used to regress patients or any other techniques also that may help?
So there are other techniques like body gratitude, and there are so many other techniques people say, but I was taught hypnosis to regress patients under hypnosis, where the subconscious mind of the therapist is in deep conversation with the subconscious mind of the patient. So there are absolutely no inhibitions, no facades, and you are completely transparent with your therapist. It is hard. because you might open a can of worms which you never thought was there in this lifetime for you. So you have to come to terms with a lot of stuff and then go through hypnotic regression. There are other methods which I am not too familiar with. I have learned it this way, Anu.
Excellent, thank you. And Reshma asks, is there a way to enhance the two positive hormones in the brain? Do psychiatrists prescribe to enhance these hormones, or is medication the only solution?
No, medication is not the only solution. You know in your heart what is the answer to an issue. You know that you can, break free and do whatever you feel like. You can thrash a person, you can be very harsh, you can be very rude, you can give it back, you can be very unkind in a situation. At the same time, you know that if you are kind, if you are inclusive, and if you are compassionate, the scene is going to change. So you know in your mind that there's something on the screen. She says meditation and not medication, Anu.
Oh, I apologize. Okay, maybe I wrote it down incorrectly.
Yeah,
I do apologize.
Yeah, so meditation does help, Reshma. Meditation does help. It does help you to, enhance those positive hormones in your body, for sure. Yeah. You become much more calmer and you start releasing those hormones automatically. You don't have to, go in for medication, which was not part of your question anyway.
Thank you. Aditi asked, what happens when we learn all our lessons? Does the cycle of birth and death stop?
So this is not a proven answer, I would say. The doctor says after you have learned your lessons, you have a choice to take a human body. And you come as a healing soul, as a helping soul to help humanity. So that is a possibility, is what doctor says. At the same time, there is no scientific proof that this is how it is. It takes a long time to learn the lessons.
Okay, so Vrinda asks, we have talked about rebirth as a human being. Can a soul have rebirth as other beings? I have heard about split soul. Could you please tell us something about the same?
So is the question indicating that, are human beings born as animals or something like that?
That's what it sort of sounds like. Vrinda, do you want to elaborate? Yes, she says yes. That's what it is.
Yeah, so in a different lifetime, if for whatever reason you were an animal or a bird, you will see the qualities in this lifetime to some extent, is what doctor says based on his research work and based on the thousands of clients that he has regressed. And for sure, in this lifetime, if we want to take the soul's journey on the downward path, as we had seen in the presentation, we can definitely go from a human being to some other being which doesn't have the sixth sense or the right attitude to work on its own mind. So there is a possibility we can go back and forth.
And Vinita asks, has there been any instance when the baggage of the past lives had to be dealt with the present, causing more damage?
Causing more damage, Anu, is that what you said?
Yeah. Yes, that's her question.
Yes, so that's a very, very important aspect that a therapist has to deal with. So when the regression is happening, it's the therapist's responsibility to allow the client to open the issues and to close them properly so that it doesn't damage the current lifetime in a much bigger manner. So there will be issues that you open up and you wonder how it happened and why it happened. It can cause a little bit of disturbance in your mind. But again, there are a lot of things that the client has to read, go through, understand, and assimilate so that it doesn't come in your way, so that it disturbs the present lifetime. So between two sessions, sometimes clients take even a month's time to understand what has happened and what has happened in another lifetime, to come to terms with it and to put the pieces together like a jigsaw puzzle, and then go ahead with this lifetime in a normal manner. The baggage can cause disturbance, but it is the therapist's responsibility to see to it that it doesn't disturb the present lifetime.
Thank you. Thank you, Gayatri. So right now, I think we're pretty much at the end of the questions, and there are a lot of comments. And one of the comments, actually one question was about the names of the books. Perhaps you can put that PowerPoint, the actual slide that had the names of the books.
Yeah, sure.
So I think someone wanted to get the names of the books. Once again, it's Dr. Brian Weiss that she made, she had referred to. So if you want to Google, I guess, WEISS, just for everyone's information. And since we are at the end, okay, so I don't know if you have a slide with your contact information that you can put somewhere, or perhaps what we can do is, because a couple of questions had come up for your contact information, perhaps Shaji can actually provide that.
Let's not discuss this in a public event.
Okay.
We will take it as a private session. Thanks.
Sure. Sorry, Shaji. Good to know. Sorry for that. Since we are at the end of the session, if you would like to actually close off with the closing prayers. Gayatri ji.
Yeah, so you want me to close the session? For sure.
Because we don't have any more questions at this point. That's why.
Oh, sure. So my pranams at the lotus feet of Lord Guru Ayappan. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Thank you so much.